Hi, have you ever wanted to take a nice bottle of wine to dinner or to a party, but you weren't sure which type was which? One possible solution would be to make the wine yourself. It's a very easy process, and the nice thing about it is you can control how sweet or how dry the wine is. You can also control how much alcohol is in the wine, depending on how much sugar you start with. So the first step in the process is called primary fermentation. That's where you're going to use a large container, and then you're going to have lots of room in here for it to bubble, to foam up, and to expand without it blowing out the top. So that's why you want to start with a large container on the primary part of the fermentation. You're also going to install an airlock, which is going to allow CO2 gases to escape without letting oxygen or any other type of contaminants to get back down inside to harm the wine. So first thing you want to do is you add your ingredients, your sugar, your yeast, your fruit, and the rest of your things that you put in. You have several different types of things that you put in depending on the recipe to help the fermentation process through. In this process, the yeast will consume the sugar, and it will turn the sugar into alcohol and CO2. The alcohol will stay in the wine, the CO2 will bubble off and escape through the airlock. This part of the process normally takes between 5 and 10 days, depending on the humidity and the temperature. According to Ed Krause's article, 7 Easy Steps to Making Wine, 70% of the fermentation or the sugar is actually consumed during the primary part of the fermentation. So once you get your sugar levels down far enough, you're able to go to the secondary step. And when you know you're ready to go to the secondary step, is you're going to take specific gravity reading, which is just measuring the density of the water, basically. As you can see, this has a scale on it, and water will be right in the middle, pure water, whereas more sugar, higher density of sugar, it's not going to sink as much, so it's going to go down here on this part of the scale, whereas once the sugar is consumed and it's mostly alcohol and water, then it's going to be lighter than water, so it's going to go way down, and you're going to be down in this part of the scale when you're finishing up. So it's a very important tool. It's the hydrometer. It's what basically tells you where you're at in the process of converting your sugar into alcohol. Now then, once you get to the secondary stage, you're going to rack it from the large container into a carboy or this type of a smaller jug, and you're not going to have nearly as much room at the top for oxidation to happen. But you're going to put an airlock on here as well to let it continue the fermentation process, and you're also letting the pulp and the other little pieces to settle out at this part of this process. Okay, activity level slows down, so you don't have to worry about it blowing out as much because it's not going to be bubbling quite as bad. Normally, with most wine, you have to rack it at least 2 to 4 times throughout the secondary part of the process to clean out as much of the sediment as possible. Okay, so and then each time you do you rack it to a new jug, you're going to take a specific gravity reading, which is going to tell you how far along you are in the process. Okay, and then once your specific gravity is down to where you want it to be, you know that pretty much all the sugar has been used and consumed. You're ready to stabilize it, which is the process of putting Camden tablets, which is a type of chemical that goes in, and it just basically kills the yeast if it's not dead already, because usually once the alcohol level reaches a certain point, it kills the yeast off. So then you put the Camden in to finalize make sure that there isn't any yeast alive still in there. Then you can back sweeten it if you need to at that point. And then comes bottling. It's ready to bottle, and actually it's ready to drink at this point. It's just not, the flavor isn't going to be that great. You're going to have some harshness to it and a little bitterness, so you're better off to let it age for a while. And during that process, you're going to move the bottles into a cool, dark place where it can sit and just age and just smooth out the flavors and so on. The aging process can take anywhere from a couple of months to decades, depending on the type of wine made. That's the point when the flavor of the fruit really starts to come out. So that's the aging process. In conclusion, just understanding the basics of wine, the 3 steps, the 3 pillars: primary, secondary, fermentation, and aging. And it's just nice to be able to make something personal to give to somebody as a gift. You know, it's like giving somebody a reason to celebrate in a bottle. So, thank you.